You're watching Alpha SK Tech. In this video I'm going to go over my experience setting up an SSH connection over a wide area network. To give you some background to the project which I embarked on, it was having a computer here in the USA where I am communicate with a computer in the UK. So I could basically manage this computer from the client in the UK. So to do this we had to set up an SSH server, which I set up on this computer, and then I had my brother configuring the SSH client over in the UK. So basically that allowed him to access my files and access the machine on a very basic level on command line to, see the folders, see the files and things like that. So the main principles of setting up this connection were basically understanding SSH, tunneling, and understanding port forwarding, which is a very crucial step to making this connection happen. Before all this, I set up a local area connection within my home network with my router, my computer, and I had a client on my mobile phone, which I used to configure and gain access to the terminal, to the server in my machine. The main principles were there to set up the user with the host IP, but then I couldn't understand the router in my home network, which I was using, has a public IP address. And that's something that I got on screen, and then tried to set up again with my brother over in the UK over the phone to set up an SSH network. He would then input with the command SSH on Linux Ubuntu on the command line, SSH user at the IP address host name, and it would come up with connection refused countless times. Very frustrating because I didn't have the knowledge. So I had to find out that knowledge by going through countless forums, reading books on SSH, but I kept on going to understand that the principles of what I was trying to achieve were there, and it seems very easy on some videos that they show you, SSH, just put in the SSH, the user at IP. But you've got to understand that there's different IP addresses. There's an IP address to your local machine and the public IP address of your router. And that is the important IP address which you need to obtain in order to gain access. I looked into port forwarding, and I was wondering if it was the network on the side of in the UK of my brother, or it was the network that I was in. And I couldn't understand that it was the network that I was in, my home network. To understand if I was the server, then I give my access point, my router, port forwarding to receive signals from outside in, because most routers are set up in a home network to not only let data go out, not to be received. So I had to do this with port forwarding, which I looked into, and you do that by obtaining the credentials and the login info of your ISP router for you to gain access. And what it usually allows an interface for you to go into your port forwarding to allow port 22, which is the default port, to have access coming in to receive packets and whatnot for the client to gain access to your server. So I did that. I configured the router with the IP address, and I allowed the port forwarding of port 22 to come in and then we did the same thing, SSH user at the public IP address, not the local area, because it already passes it on with the configuration within the router. If you want to gain an SSH connection, you're having trouble doing so, it's probably because the router is not configured to port forwarding of the port that you need to gain access to your local machine. So have a look at that, and I hope you've enjoyed this video and I haven't waffled on too much, but this is my first video on my channel. Like and subscribe. Alpha SK Tech. Thank you very much for watching.